Hi, my name is Reeve Conover, and I've been an employee benefits broker since 1986. One of the things that we have to deal with every year with our clients is employee contributions. The benefits bucket of money is only so large. How are you going to break that up and fund health insurance for your employees and perhaps dependents? It's something you really should look at every year and make sure that your model fits your business model. Very often I find when I ask a new employer, how did they get to this contribution approach? They say, well, so-and-so did it 5 years ago, but he's not here anymore, and we don't know how he came up with it. So we need to revisit this every year, and certainly this year, things are more different than they've been in a long time. So some starting points for this conversation. The first thing you have to understand is you cannot discriminate. You can't decide that Joe gets more money than everybody else, for example. We have to have a chart, and every employee has to fit into that chart, and they pay whatever that amount is. There are some rules as to how we can devise those charts. There are also rules that we have to meet for our insurance carriers, and the two big ones are, first, you have to contribute 50% of the lowest single rate, the lowest plan's premium, and the second is you have to meet certain participation guidelines. Typically, you need to have 50 or 60% of all employees participating in the plan and 70% or more with valid waivers. So how much you pay for the health insurance will directly affect your participation. So the starting point here is first, calculating what is your benefits budget. And you can do that by looking at what you're paying now towards the employees, and that'll give you an idea of how much you have. And then you've got to look at your current business model and say, am I paying too much? Which is typically everyone's answer. Or do I need to modify this? Can I actually pay more? The next thing is figuring out what is your philosophical approach. And this is kind of interesting, and there's no right answer to this. Some of my employer groups believe that their only responsibility is to their employees, and they don't contribute towards dependent coverage at all, with the philosophy being that if I pay for dependent coverage for one employee and I don't pay for it for the other because they're not married, I'm paying more for one employee than I am another, and I just don't think that's fair. Then there is a large group who believe that they should pay something towards the dependent coverage, and they'll offer that kind of coverage. There are rare employees where they pay all of the single premium, but I think I only have two of those left. That's very unusual. There's another approach, which is not allowing dependent coverage at all. They're just simply not eligible. Now that may seem harsh, and when UPS made that change several years ago, it was resoundingly booed by a large part of the population. However, what they did, because they found that most of the dependents were not taking their insurance because they could not afford it, but because they offered it, those employees could not get a subsidy on the exchange, so they eliminated dependents and gave all of those dependents the opportunity to get a lower price by going on to the Affordable Care Act exchanges. The next question is, do we need more than one plan? Do we want more than one plan? The network sizes will play into that. The group size that you have will play in. Is there a geographical difference where you need to do that? These are all considerations in the process of trying to figure out what we're going to do. Then classing employees is relatively common. Here we're saying that one class of employee gets a different reimbursement than another. These have to be on very strict guidelines. So it can be labor versus management, it can be geographical location, it can be done by job title, it can be done union, non-union. But again, it can't be discriminatory. We can't say, well, Joe gets more money than anybody else. The third and most complicated is a defined benefit plan. But if you've got enough employees to make this work, say 50 or more, the defined benefit plan says, okay, well, we're giving you that $400 towards benefits. And now you can spend that on any of our employee benefits. So you can put it on medical, you can use it for dependents. If you don't want the medical plan or you don't need it because your spouse has coverage, you can spend that money on dental and life insurance and disability and maybe put it into your retirement plan. And if you go over the amount we're paying, then you pay the difference. Again, that's kind of complicated. So let's look at this from another perspective to try to simplify it perhaps. On the single, you can pay a fixed amount as long as it's a minimum of 50%. You can pay a percentage based on the one plan you have or on a specific plan. If you're offering multiple plans, you can pay a percentage on the single of the lowest plan. For dependents, as I said before, you don't have to contribute toward dependents, but if you do, you can contribute a fixed amount. And again, you can contribute a percentage based on the plan that they're in or that they've chosen, or you can take a percentage based on the lowest plan that you're offering. Now here's 3 examples of different ways to approach the same problem. If you'll notice on the top line of each of these, this comes down on the employee only to $72 a month for the employee. The differences are in the dependents. So in the first example, we're paying a percentage of the single and we're paying 70% of the dependent rate. So we get a family rate per month of $420. In the second one, we're only paying single. So the dependents then all of the dependent premium has to be picked up by the employee. And so now you can see that it's $1,022. In the third, we're picking up a percentage of the single and a different percentage, or a fixed dollar amount in this case, of the dependent rate. And so now we've got a rate of $357. Here's 2 plans that I did recently with one of my clients to kind of give you a little different picture of this. In the first example, they have 2 plans. The low plan, the least price plan, which is a high deductible health plan in this case. Plan B, the employer is going to pay 80% of that amount across the board. So he's got a single rate of $34.54. But if you want to buy up to the copay plan, the rich plan, they're only going to pay 60% on that. And now you can see that the single rate, this is per paycheck, is $112.64. In the second example, in the gray, in this case, the employer simply pays $500 towards the plan, and the employee pays the difference. And so now we've got a rate of $57.22. And so my question initially, what is your budget, really comes into play here. Because whatever we're going to put into the employer pays line is what you're going to end up having to write a check for. So in summary, employee contributions can be simple or it can be complicated. It needs to match your business plan and how you're looking at it. Generally, employers say that they have employee benefits for recruitment and retention. And if that's your case, then we want to make sure that whatever plan we're putting in place here is going to match your goals. Remember that you cannot discriminate. We have to have a chart that's the same for everybody. And if you have questions, you should consult your broker, or you can give us a call. Reeve Conover at Conover Consulting. We would love to speak to you. Have a great day.